Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today it's time again to review the Fide World Cup 2021, and today it's time for the quarterfinals. And this time it's a game between Duda, 2700 Super GM from Poland, against another Super GM from India, Vidit Gujrathi. We start off with a Rui Lopez, just like this. In this position, usually you go for something like bishop e7 and castles or d6. But in this position, very interesting, Vidit shows a very sharp arc angles variation. So the bishop needs to go back. Now bishop to c5, which usually you don't place your bishop on c5 in the Rui Lopez, because in this case, Duda has the very quick c3 followed by d4. First we have a4, threatening to take on b5, so black has to react and play rook to b8. And now very quickly c3 and d4. So this is exactly what we have. d4 hitting the bishop goes back, and now hitting the bishop again. Bishop a7, now h3 controlling the g4 square. Bishop b7, putting the bishop on the long diagonal, and just know that both of these guys are still in their theory, of course. So bishop e3, and in this position, the pawn on e4 is hanging. The problem is, if you take this pawn, which Fide did, what do you do here with white? And it's crazy. These lines are crazy, but both of these guys, they know very well what they're doing. d5 is played, takes on e3, knight takes on f2. And so in this position, you might think like, okay, I can trade the rook for 2 pieces. So let's do that. Let's do this. But in actual fact, this is not the way to go, because in this case, this bishop is free to go. Black is like up 3 pawns. That's not what you want to do. Queen to e2. This is apparently the move, because like knight h3, king h1, knight f2, and only now you take. It's crazy. So bishop takes on f2, and now queen takes. And now the bishop takes here. It's kind of the same situation, right? So white is up an exchange. Black is up a lot of pawns, but in this position, queen e2 made sure that the queen could take, so in this position, knight d5 is possible, with lots and lots of threats. Bishop takes on g2, and like the funny thing is, in this position, this is tactically so complicated, but I will try and explain it. Like if you take with the king, queen to g5, king f1, and now you take the knight. Now this is not a threat any longer, because now if you take, then this position for black is pretty safe. Quite logical, because white doesn't have as much pieces in the attack. So this would be much better for black. So you can't really allow black to just gain a knight like that. By the way, that's also the reason why bishop to g2 was played. So in this position, you don't take the bishop. Instead, king to g1. Duda said in the interview, he didn't know this move, queen to f6. I thought that was very funny, because this means like both of these guys, they knew this position out the top of their heads until move 20, and Vidit even longer, right? Because he knew, for example, this move queen f6, which is also objectively the best move, by the way. In any case, I thought that was pretty impressive. Knight to f7 was played, which is also the best move. And now there's a lot of trades, and after all of these trades, basically what we have is we have a completely equal endgame. If you ask the engine will say this is like zeros, because it's a knight, as you can see, versus 3 pawns. Probably also, especially from a practical standpoint, I think that the knight should be favored, but I mean, it's not easy at all, because if black plays precisely, also black can definitely create some chances. As we will see, it's easy to go wrong very quickly. In any case, so knight to d2 was played. It's logical, I mean, you're developing a piece. Rook e8, rook to f1, hitting the king. King to f2, which is pretty logical, because you want to control these squares so that the rook can't come in your position in any way. h5 was played. Black also wants to create some chances of his own. We have a check, king f6, and now king to f3. Some more moves are played. White tries to reroute his knight in different ways. The knight is pressurizing this pawn. The best move in this position would be something like c5, just giving up the pawn. But after knight a6, you have rook a8. So you basically win the pawn back like this. And this would be completely equal, because you have enough compensation with black with these pawns. And maybe you can create a postulate like this, maybe. But in any case, also these pawns are weak. So as soon as you start trading pawns with black, I mean, there is no way for white to do anything. But this was not played. Vidit made a pretty big mistake. So he went for this move. Rook to e2. After king h1, first of all, like this pawn on g5 is hanging, but that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that a6 is hanging, and more importantly, there's a plan of going rook to a1 and simply pushing this pawn. There is no way for black to stop this if white plays precisely. And Duda did play pretty precise. So rook takes on b2, rook a1. As you can see, Duda wants to promote his pawn. He wants to take on a6 and promote. And this is probably what Vidit overlooked or he miscalculated, because it's a very complex line and black has some counterplay of his own, but it's almost enough, but not quite. c5, and this is basically a race. Black tries to create chances of his own, and now knight takes, very nice move, because you want to promote your pawn as quickly as possible. C takes, a6, and this is really a race, but Duda calculated it correctly. It's white who will be able to promote first, so after all of these moves, a very nice one, rook to b1 is played, king g2, and now queens. And this position might seem like, okay, this has to be good for black, right? Because it's equal material and black is up 3 pawns. Yes, but the problem is it's white to move. Have a look at this king. This king is wide open because white can give all of these checks, as you can see. Just like this, all of these checks. And eventually, by the way, also if you ask the computer says something like forced mate in 24 or whatever. There was some critique on Vidit that he didn't chose the longest way to get mated, but I think in any case Duda would have found like the mate. Okay, but in this case Vidit simply goes to the edge of the board, and after all of these moves, at this point, Vidit resigned the game because it's simply gonna be mate in 1. After, for example, king a4, this is gonna be mate. So only one slight mistake. Duda calculated everything perfectly and he managed to win this. I think he can be very proud of this game. Not only because it was very beautiful and it was against a very strong opponent, but also because if you can do something like this in the World Cup, that's awesome. Duda will meet Carlsen in the semifinals, which is something I'm really excited for. Of course, he wants to get into the finals in order to get to the candidates. So in any case, I thought this was an awesome game. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe to my channel. That would really mean a lot to me. And with that said, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!